everyone, my name is Sarah and today I'm going to be sharing all the books I read in June. June was a pretty hectic month for me. I mean, when is it not hectic? Let's be real. But for the majority of June, I was away, I was on vacation, I was in the sunny Spain and Portugal. I had such an amazing time and somehow I still managed to read. Like, I don't even know how I managed to do that. Normally, I'd be lucky to get through like 3 books on vacation, but this trip, I don't know, like something inspired me over there. I was motivated by the beautiful scenery and I just wanted to sit down and spend a couple hours with my book each day. So during June, I managed to read 10 books all up. 5 of them were physical, 3 were ebooks, and 2 were audiobooks. Out of that 10, 1 of them was a DNF, 1 of them was a reread, and most of them were new releases. So I was so excited to get my hands on those copies. But yeah, let's get into talking about all the books I read in June. As you know, June was Pride Month, so I wanted to read as many queer books as possible, including some new releases and others that I'd had on my TBR for a while. So I kicked off the month by reading Going Off Script by Jen Wilde. This was one of my most anticipated releases for 2019 and it did not disappoint. Jen Wilde is one of my favorite authors. They write such incredible, cute, fluffy stuff and I just absolutely adore their books. A couple months back, I read The Brightsiders and I read Queens of Geek when it came out. So after loving those 2 previous books, I knew that Going Off Script was going to be just as amazing. Going Off Script is one of my new favorite books for multiple reasons. First off, it's very queer. Our protagonist is queer, there are a ton of other queer characters in the story, and that's one of the things I love most about Jen's books. If someone recommends a book to me and they tell me the plot, I'll be like, yeah, okay, and they're like, yeah, it's queer, and I'm like, okay, I am so here for it. But the second reason why I love this book so much is because it's all about script writing and TV shows, and those are 2 of my biggest passions outside of reading and writing novels and stuff. So this book is about this girl called Bex who gets an internship working for her favorite TV show, except it doesn't turn out to be as incredible as she hoped it would be. Instead of sitting in the writer's room, she is stuck picking up coffee for all the people that don't appreciate her, and she's not here for it. But then she writes a speculative script for one of the episodes and includes a queer romance and shows it to her boss, except her boss passes it off as his own work. And what's more frustrating is that he changes the queer ship to a straight one. I mean, please. So this book is all about Bex finding her confidence to stand up to this homophobic prick, and it's about her and her new friends just fighting back against the industry. I absolutely loved this book. It was such a fast-paced read. I didn't want to put it down. Of course, knowing Jen Wilde, it is super swoony as well, so 5 stars. The next book I read in June was Royals by Rachel Hawkins. Unfortunately, I felt pretty meh about this one. Like, I enjoyed reading it, but it didn't really have much substance and I could have put it down at any time and not really I felt like I was missing out on a lot. The main reason why I did decide to pick up this book is because I've heard phenomenal things about Her Royal Highness, which is a spin-off novel centered around one of the characters in Royals. I mean, I probably could have gone into the spin-off novel without having read Royals, but I just wanted to get the background info and all that stuff. Royals is about this American girl whose sister ends up falling in love with a prince in Britain and decides to marry him. So this girl is dragged across to the other side of the world to kind of learn more about the royal family and to try and royal her up for the wedding. There she meets some other members of the family and some other really well-off people, and she feels like she can't really fit into this crowd. But when the royal family asks her to pretend to fake date this boy, everything goes wrong. I do really like the fake date trope, and that's one of the reasons why I gave this book 3 stars despite it not being super compelling. But yeah, it was alright. It was a fun read. If you're not looking for something too heavy or too complicated, pick this one up, but yeah, meh. Next up, I read Red, White, and Royal Blue, which I loved so much, like I can't even begin to explain. This is now one of my favorite books of 2019. I'd heard so many people screaming about it for such a long time, and finally I got my hands on a copy. This is a new adult novel about a boy named Alex whose mother is the President of the United States. But Alex has a major beef with a prince in Britain called Henry, and when one of their altercations means a photo lands in the tabloids, the royal family and the President of the United States have to plan for damage control, which means Alex and Henry have to pretend to be friends. This is such an adorable book. It is the hate to love trope, it is the fake friendships trope, it is everything I could have wanted and more. It is so queer, so beautifully written. I just raced through it, and this book had me laughing out loud on basically every page. I haven't really read that many new adult novels, but Red, White, and Royal Blue is definitely changing that for me. I need to read more like this now. I need Casey to release another book. I need to reread this one. I've been recommending this to everyone I know, and if you haven't read it, you need to get your hands on a copy. Thank me later. The next book I read in June was Hot Dog Girl, which I listened to on audio. It's about this girl who works at a carnival and she's forced to dress up as a hot dog. She has a crush on this guy who also works there, so she ropes her friend into pretending that her and her friend are dating to get closer to this boy. Except her friend doesn't really want to be involved, and you know why? Because she has a crush on the hot dog girl. Fake dating? Yes, please. I honestly can't believe how many books with fake dating I've read during June. Hot Dog Girl is another book that has been all over the social internet. If you've seen it and you haven't picked it up yet, please do so. It is so adorable, just as the cover kind of promises. There's nothing I love more than a cute love story, and Hot Dog Girl definitely delivers with that. But it's also awkward and relatable and cringy at times, and that's some of the things that I loved most about it. If you're in need of another cute queer book to add to your TBR, I cannot recommend Hot Dog Girl highly enough. Next up, I reread The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. I actually listened to the audiobook because I have it and it's one of my absolute favorites. I swear I've probably listened to it about 15 times at this point. It's just my go-to listen because it's freaking incredible. In case you haven't heard of The Gentleman's Guide, I would be very surprised, but in case you haven't, it's about this boy called Monty who goes away on the grand tour of Europe in the 1700s with his best friend Percy and his sister Felicity. There, basically everything goes wrong. They're chased by highwaymen, they have to find this mysterious thing that everyone wants to kill them for. They get locked up, they have to run naked across Versailles. I mean, what doesn't happen in this book? It is such a hilarious read. It's queer, it's funny, it is heartwarming and heart-wrenching. It's just one of my favorite books of all time. Plus, the audiobook is narrated by one of the best narrators of all time who happened to play young Tom Riddle. And it's just incredible. When he says, "my darling," oh, my heart, honestly. It's also the kind of book that just makes you want to travel as well. So when I was traveling and just looking out the window of the bus, there's nothing I would rather do than listen to The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. 5 stars, of course. The next book I listened to in June was We Contain Multitudes. We Contain Multitudes is about 2 boys in high school who have to write a letter to each other each week in English class. Unfortunately, this was one of my least favorite reads of the month. I was really looking forward to it because it was queer and it sounded like something like Love, Simon, but I just couldn't get into it. I think my main problem lay with the narrators themselves. I just didn't like the voices of the audio narrators. Sorry, whoever narrated it. I couldn't really get past that, and even when I tried to speed it up to make it go quicker, it was just like torture. I'm so sorry, but it was. Maybe if it was narrated by some other people, I would have preferred it, but because I only had the audiobook and not the physical copy, I couldn't really resort to that. So yeah, unfortunately, I DNF'd that one. If you finished it and the second half is better than the first, let me know because maybe I'll continue reading it, but honestly, Maybe I'll get the ebook if I want to finish it. The next book I read was Rain and Delilah's Midnight Matinee, which again was one of my most anticipated releases. I feel like I just got to all the books I was really excited about in June, which is honestly the best way to spend your vacation. This book is about two girls who are best friends and they run this really offbeat TV show in the middle of the night that hardly anyone watches, but they're really passionate about. But both of them have aspirations about making it big time on TV, so they decide to go on this road trip to go to this convention where they'll be able to meet people that can hopefully get them there. This one sounded right up my alley as well because of the whole screenwriting thing, but unfortunately I felt a little bit let down from this one. I felt like it was trying to be way funnier than it actually was. Like, some of the jokes went on for way too long and I was like, okay, get back to the plot. And for the first half of this book, it felt like nothing really happened. I wasn't overly invested in the characters' lives, and even the love interest, I was like, meh. Didn't really feel overly passionate about this one, unfortunately. I really enjoyed Jeff's other book, Goodbye Days. Haven't yet read The Serpent King, so I'll have to get onto that. But Rain and Delilah, not really for me. Another ebook I read while I was away was The Summer of Jody Perez, which is a book that I've seen everywhere ever since it was released, and finally I got around to reading it. And how cool is that cover? I am obsessed with it. This book is about a girl who gets an internship at this fashion label because she's really passionate about blogging and fashion and plus size fashion especially. But another girl from her school also gets the job, and only one of them will get the full-time gig next year once their internship is over. So there's a bit of rivalry going on there. But there's a little bit of a problem because our protagonist starts getting a crush on this girl named Jody, the girl who works with her, the one that's meant to be her competition. At the same time, she's running around LA trying to find the best burger with her friend, and she's dealing with some other friend problems and some problems with her family. But the romance between her and Jody was definitely my favorite part of the entire book. They were so beautiful. This book was honestly such a fun read. I can't even begin to describe it because it's like such a mishmash of things. It takes place over this one summer and so much stuff happens, so you just have to read it. But I can definitely guarantee it is a fun, a fast-paced book. It's one you won't want to put down. And I definitely recommend getting the physical copy as well because that cover is beautiful. The second to last book I read in June was of course the YA Rooms book of the month, Kindred, 12 Queer Lovers YA Short Stories. I was lucky enough to go to the launch of Kindred, which was absolutely incredible. There were teen drag performers, there were teens reading excerpts from the book. It was just the biggest queer celebration and I was so here for it. But of course, following that incredible celebration, I knew that Kindred was gonna be just as fun. It's edited by Michael Earp and it contains 12 adorable Aussie queer stories. I really loved the majority of them. I connected to some more than others, but I enjoyed all of them on a whole. My favorites definitely included Jen Wild's story, which was about fandoms and fangirls, and I also really loved I Like Your Rotation by Jack's Jackie Brown. We also have some familiar favorites in there like Alison Evans and Erin Goff, so it was really great to see their names on the cover too. I found myself just falling in love with the stories, and I didn't want some of them to end, which is the way you know that a story is good. And yeah, I'm already excited to see what kind of book Michael publishes next. And finally, the last book I read in June was The Only Thing Worse Than Me Is You. I decided to pick up this book because I heard it was super nerdy and had a lot of fandom references, and boy, it did not disappoint. This is like every fangirl's dream book. It referenced Doctor Who and Firefly and Buffy and Star Trek and literally everything. When the characters named my favorite Doctor Who episode to watch together, I screamed. And when our protagonist was like lying on her bed studying, listening to the Doctor Who soundtrack, yes, can relate. Mainly it was like all the Doctor Who references I was here for, so it was good. This book is set in a really prestigious high school where basically only geniuses go there. And then one day the ranking of the students all changed and someone is thought to have cheated but couldn't have cheated and they had to find the culprit. So basically it was a bit of a mystery set in this high school setting with a whole bunch of fandom references. This wasn't an ultimate favorite because I did start it back in like March and then put it down for a while and then continued reading it, so it wasn't like what I had to get through. It was still like a 3.5 star read for me. It wasn't terrible by any standards, but I think there's only so far that cute nerdy references can go before you're like, okay, where's the plot at? So yeah, these are some of the books I read in June, plus all my audiobooks and ebooks. Had a pretty good reading month all around. I enjoyed the majority of them, which is really good, and I definitely found some new favorites. If you've read any of these, please do let me know what you thought of them in the comments down below, because I would love to hear that. That's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye everyone!